What's up, YouTube fans? Today, we're going to take a look at the best and most disappointing official and third-party masterpiece scale figures of 2022. So as you can see, I have the figures that I looked at scrolling by. So that's going to be kind of a criteria for this is it has to be something that I looked at on my channel. There were a lot of figures that came out this year, and we're only going to look at stuff that I looked at. Second thing is it can't be a repaint, a reissue, or a retool. It really has to be a new figure or new release. And this was the year of the repaints. There was a lot of repaints out there, and a lot of them I really liked, especially the TFCon exclusives, but we're not going to look at those here. And the last criteria, of course, is got to be masterpiece scaled. We're not going to look at retail or even the HasLab stuff, which is kind of bordering on masterpiece, but it's not quite. So we're just going to stick with that. I might do a separate video for those others. Now, obviously, this is going to be a subjective opinion video. You know, this is based on my preferences and what I liked coming out this year. But of course, I'm interested in hearing from you. So you can leave your comments below on which figures you thought were the best of 2022. Now, with that being said, let's get started. We'll start off with the most disappointing figures of 2022. Coming in with the dishonorable mention for most disappointing figures for 2022 is the Magic Square Light of Peace, or their version of Optimus Prime. Now, I know this is a lot of people's #1 best Optimus Prime in their collection, but let me explain why this deserves a mention here. So first, right out of the box, a lot of people got the broken smokestack. I know that's due to packaging, but it's still a disappointment when you get the figure, right? Having it broken right out of the package. And then as you take it out of the package and handle it and manipulate it, you feel those materials and the build quality, which was just kind of not that impressive. Now, the reason this stayed out of the top 3 most disappointing is the articulation is out of this world, and that's why this is just a dishonorable mention for 2022. Coming in at number 3 is Takara Tomi's Shuki, their first train bot from the Raiden Combiner. Now, this thing unfortunately has the title Masterpiece or MPG and costs $170, so it's got the cost as well, but it doesn't perform. The robot mode is just too small to scale with Masterpiece. It also has a lot of kibbly pieces, which you don't expect for a Masterpiece. The combined mode as well is too small and also very kibbly. But the only mode that really works well is the train mode. It looks really nice. It's got some tracks, but it again doesn't scale with Masterpiece. So at the price point of $170, I just can't pass this thing. And unfortunately, it comes in at number 3 due to those shortcomings. Coming in at number 2 most disappointing is the Toy World Skyburst, their version of a World War II Jetfire. Now, this thing looks beautiful, but it costs $220. And at the scale it's at, it definitely doesn't fit with Masterpiece. It's really small. And I guess if you're making a carrier or a ship like this, it's pretty hard to get it to be Masterpiece scale. But it also just has a lot of QC problems. All these pins and joints are loose. The transformation is not fun. It's really kind of delicate piece. And for that price point, $220, I expect something a little bit more. And that's why this one comes in at number 2, most disappointing. Now, coming in at the number 1 most disappointing for me for 2022 is x-transbots Jansen or Perceptor. Now, I know there's going to be people out there who are surprised by this, but I had a really bad experience with this guy. The first copy I got, the leg was broken in box, and people even thought I broke it on purpose. I would never pay for a figure this much money and break it myself. So I got a replacement from the Chosen Prime, thanks to them. And the replacement also had a bunch of QC issues, paint issues, and transformation issues, things getting stuck, C-clips that don't work right and break off. The balance of the figure was off in the legs and in the joints. Some weapons didn't quite fit, some effects didn't fit. Just overall, and then some of the minifigs also didn't really stay together well. So for as much as this figure was hyped up by the community and by x-transbots and was released early simply to take out the Fans Toys figure, it really didn't do that job, and that's why it's the number 1 most disappointing for the year. Now, getting the honorable mention for best figures of the year is the Fans Toys rig, their version of Huffer. Now, this guy was really kind of fun. It's one of the first transformations that Fans Toys has done that really felt quite natural, and getting it in both modes. It looks good in both modes, of course, because with nice accessories, really good paint job as well. So this was kind of the beginning of Fans Toys' trip down fun transformation lane, and that's why this comes in at honorable mention. It really is a boring character, so it's hard to make this in the top 3, but it deserves a mention here. Coming in at the number 3 best figures for the year are the x-transbots Dante, Da Vinci, and Caravaggio, their versions of Inferno, Grapple, and Hauler. Now, these are older designs, they're from 2015, but I think they did an amazing job on these. They gave you plenty of accessories, which they always do, but they're really good accessories. The paint and sculpt and detail on all of these are really well done, just top notch. And the transformation engineering is one of the best I've seen on these kinds of figures, these characters. So I really think we need more of this from x-transbots. More figures like this with simple, fun designs, fun transformations. They could be the number 1 third-party company if they made more like this. And that's why this is the number 3 figure for the year. Coming in at the number 2 best for 2022 is the Moon Studios, otherwise known as Zeta, Cool Peak and Green Zone, which are their arm bots for the Raiden Combiner. Now, you could really pick any of the arm or leg bots for this as one of the best, but honestly, the entire Combiner deserves a spot in the top. It really is a great looking and great performing Combiner. It's very stable, got plenty of weapons and accessories. It looks gorgeous. It's big and imposing. And the arm bots specifically are very fun. The transformation's fun. They look good in all 3 modes. This is one of the first combiners where I've seen Zeta make all 3 modes look good. And to me, that's why it deserves the number 2 spot. And taking the number 1 spot for 2022 is the Fans Toys Outrider, their version of Trailbreaker. Now let me explain why this is here at this spot. There's been a lot of Trailbreakers. We've had the Ocular Max version, the Bad Cube version, the x-transbots version, and soon we're going to get the Takara Tomy version in January 23. And this one is the first one we've gotten where the transformation was actually fun, the engineering is really cool, and it's just intuitive. It also looks really good in the robot mode, and the vehicle mode is very clean, and the heroic proportions and overall sculpt gets that toon look but avoids becoming awkward and doofy, which is this character kind of looks that in the cartoon. And for that, I commend them for being able to give you that toon look but still be proportionate. Now, one thing to say about Fans Toys is they had a stellar year. I went back and counted, and Fans Toys put out 9 new figures, not counting repaints, retools, and reissues. Next below that, x-transbots and Zeta with 6 new releases. So the next company down is 3 away. That's a pretty impressive schedule and release dates for a company to put out that much. Even the official company, Takara Tomy, only put out 3 new figures. So there's something to be said about that as well. The other thing I want to talk about is I did put out a vote on my members group for their favorite figures, and this is what you see on the screen. The DS Recording Alliance came in at the top with 3 votes. Ocular Max Medicus at 3 votes, which kind of surprised me. Fans Toys Phantasm with 2 votes. Light of Peace with 2 votes. x-transbots, Caravaggio, and Jansen with 2 votes. And the rest have 1 vote. And again, here you see Fans Toys had the most number of entries overall into this, with x-transbots coming up with the second most votes overall in here. So that does kind of be consistent with the release schedule. The more you release, the more likely you are to have a good figure. So we're hoping for more releases in the future in 2023 from these companies, maybe back from the pandemic and really getting back to releasing figures at a more regular pace. So that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments below on your favorite figures of 2022, and we'll see you next time.